Hi, welcome to Living a Remarkable Life, and today we're talking about the scariest part about being an entrepreneur. We will be inviting people to join us in just a little bit, so definitely stay around and take part, and we will ask you to jump on board in a little bit. I see we have about 6 people eager to join us today, it looks like. So are you ready for Halloween, Kevin?
I'm ready. Happy Halloween.
Awesome. Happy Halloween to you and happy Halloween to everyone here. As everybody knows, being an entrepreneur is really, really scary. There are so many things that happen in the entrepreneur life cycle that the thought of becoming an entrepreneur in the first place is extremely, extremely scary. I know, Kevin, you're new to being an entrepreneur. What are you finding are some of the scariest things you're facing right now?
Well, you're right. Taking the leap was quite scary. I'd say it took me close to 3 years to build up the confidence to make the leap out of my safe, comfortable corporate job into the world of entrepreneurship. And I did finally make that leap back in September. Now that I am full-time entrepreneur, I'd say the biggest fear for me is fear of the unknown and just not having confidence in yourself always that you're going to succeed because it's new and it's challenging and it definitely is scary.
Oh, for sure. I know back when we were first looking at being an entrepreneur, it wasn't just our own fears about being self-employed and having no secondary income. It was also the fears of, what about my family? How will I support myself? How will I pay my rent? How will I buy food? How will I pay those other bills? How will I get to work, get to my positions? What if nobody buys for me? What if I can't find clients? There's so many what ifs out there that it becomes such a scary thing as we decide to make that venture out. And some people will do it in different ways. Some people will just totally jump in and give up everything secure to go for something completely unsecure. Other people will start building something as they're still working part-time with another source of income. And some people find that they're lucky enough that they've just had a good, maybe a severance package or some type of good money saved up. So we're going to have Chuck join us now as well. So we'll have him come on board and share some thoughts as well. Hi, Chuck. How are you?
I was talking to Chuck the other day. He's definitely got some good experience to share.
Well, you know that I'm just so excited about Blab because so many young people are doing the right thing. There's one thing that helped me in my teenage years addressing these questions. Mm-hmm. And I guess it was help from the parents and teachers, but we never used the words "what if." It's funny how words how words can affect our subconscious mind.
Yep.
So if you just don't say "what if" to yourself in the self-talk, just say "I am." And there was a book I read. I wasn't a teenager then. I'd already, had been in business, and it was written by Og Mandino called "The World's Greatest Salesman." And the book has nothing to do with being a salesman. It has to do with being a person. And nobody does the book right because it takes 10 months to go through the book, and nobody wants to invest 10 months today. But I've done it 3 or 4 times, several times. And the other thing I've done in the last 10, 15 years is I recorded those scrolls in the present tense. Mm-hmm. Because when you read the book, it's "I will." Well, I recorded it back in "I am." I am. And this sounds hokey, but, I raised a family. We've been broke several times. We've always been in control of our own income. And the other thing, I'm shotgunning here, but the other thing that's important is to, as you become an entrepreneur, think of very small bites. There is so much BS on the internet about this thinking big.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal can be lofty, but we live day to day. I don't live 20 years from now. When I was 17 and started my business, I wasn't living 35. I didn't give a damn. What we did is we took the business, you write everything down, your business plan. It doesn't have to be bank ready. And then you start picking away at it. You're eating that elephant one day at a time. Now, here's what it does to you mentally, is you appreciate yourself at the end of every day. And I know Kevin brought up the thing, and so did Rebecca, about, how are we going to get paid? Well, there's one thing that we all know. Every person that listens to this has the ability to make enough money to be sustained while they are building their business. Okay. And I mean, if it's the most menial thing in the world. The other thing I want to caution is, because a person may be taking that leap, don't ever think less of yourself. Don't see business that you think you have to discount your services.
For sure. That's so important. Don't discount yourself.
No, don't discount yourself. But again, it's so, I have never had the question in my mind, what if? I mean, it's really weird. It just doesn't exist here. I don't allow it into my psyche at all. And I'm not the world's example of success. However, in my mind, I'm the most successful person in the world. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter whether Kevin thinks I'm successful.
And that's a great point. You got to measure.
Sure.
You got to set your own expectations and not worry about what other people think. It's you that you have to answer to. And it's, that's very, very good point, Chuck.
The other thing, though, thank you very much, but we talk about bills. And the other, I do a lot of consulting with new businesses and have for years. In the construction business, what used to be the de rigueur is a young man who was a good carpenter, was working for a gentleman, enjoying his paycheck, being paid well, and decides he wants to get his contractor's license because then he can get the big bucks, right?
Yep.
And so he gets his contractor's license. The first thing he does is he goes out and gets himself a new pick-me-up truck, because you got to have that Dodge machine. And he fully outfits it with a rack and goes down and credit cards and does everything and so on. And in most cases, 18 months later, that construction company is no longer in existence. Now, I know this, my grandkids hate me to say this. You don't need a new pickup truck to be a contractor. You do need good tools. You do need good tools. Yep. That's the only thing you need, is good tools, good, reliable tools. Because what happens, and this has happened over and over again in that industry, same thing in farming, you borrowed, you've stretched yourself and you don't get that next job. So then you lower your bid for the next job to get the cash flow to pay for the mistake on the last job and to catch up. Now, this applies, I used construction as an example. It applies to online marketing. Yeah. It applies to anything. It applies to the dress shop. It applies to the tire shop. It applies to the coach. God, I'm amazed. When I grew up, there weren't as many coaches, but now it seems to be on the internet. Everybody's a coach, but that's good. I mean, the enthusiasm level is phenomenal. But again, to sum it up, take small bites. Get rid of any what ifs. Use everything in the present tense, not I will do this. And then at the end of each day, give yourself congratulations for the things you did right, not the things that you did, the bumps in the road, the small mistakes you made.
Celebrate the small victories, right?
Every day, as we kneel down, say your prayers at the end of the night. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a great conversation with Rebecca and Kevin.
Yep. You're welcome.
If nothing else happens today, in my mind is the only mind that's important to me.
Yep.
It is.
Mindset is huge.
I had a great, now if my wife walks behind me and sees that I'm talking to you in my sleeping shirt and I put a hat on because my head looks like this, and the dog is pulling on my leg here for her to, she loves to be on the river every morning, so I'm going to take her out for a walk. But anyway, keep this up, and Og Mandino's book, The Greatest Salesman. Thank you, Kevin, for putting that up. Yep. I suggest people, everybody, I challenge anybody to actually do the 10-month situation. He asks you to read the scroll every day for 30 days, morning, noon, and night. There's 10 scrolls. That's 10 months. I have met very few people who have done it, but I will share with you, everybody I've known in my life that have done that would be deemed by society to be successful.
There you go.
One thing we have to our advantage is record each scroll about mid-month, record it, listen to it once a day in the present tense. I am. I got to go take care of the dog. Thank you, kid.
Yeah,
Thanks.
talk to you later.
Thank you for joining us. So that was great for Chuck to come on and share.
Yeah,
I know in my conversations coming up nowadays, when we think about what if, we're not looking at what if in a negative way, but we do still look at what if. So I think if you're using it the right way, you can use it still valuable. I can't talk today. Anyways, but we look at what if as what if anything was possible. So you have to be careful how you're looking at it. You don't want to dwell on the negatives. You don't want to dwell on what if I don't make enough money? What if I'm not successful? What if I can't meet anybody new? What if I can't make payroll? Any of those things. Don't look at it in a negative context, but face all your questions in a very positive context. What if anything was possible? What if I was wildly successful? What happens when I am successful? So instead of I could, it's I would. I may, I will.
Yep. And I think the language is a funny thing, right? Words mean different things to different people. But the point, I think the overall point on your mindset is huge. You got to have the right mindset. You got to have a positive mindset, because if you have that negative, doubtful self-talk, you're probably not going to be successful. So I have those scrolls he was talking about. I mentioned I talked to Chuck the other day, and I did check them out, and they are basically some very good positive affirmations, and you can find them free online.
Awesome.
I'll pull up the link here and share it for people who are interested. But yeah, let's carry on.
Perfect. Okay, so scariest part, starting out, we talked a little bit about that. Does anybody have anything to comment on what really scared them starting out? If so, at some point pop on, ask a question. I know I'm now in the next phase of my life where I've started one business. I faced the scary part of having to close that business. And that can also be a very scary thing, because nobody wants to talk about failure. Nobody wants to talk about running into trouble with their company. Nobody wants to admit to others that maybe things aren't going right. And we really need to change that mindset, because every single one of us at one time in our life will struggle with something, whether it's cash flow or finding customers or a need to change to a new product or service. So we all have those things, and we really need to share with each other to help each other move through it and help each other find ways to push past that problem.
Yep. I think that's an incredibly important point, and one that I definitely wanted to talk about. You know, in this age of social media, everyone likes to share the positives, and everyone likes to share the good news stories. People, by their nature, don't like to share the tough times and the hard times and the challenges, right? At least
you don't want to see vulnerable.
No,
like,
you don't.
People don't want to do that.
No, people don't want to do that. Most people don't want to do that. There are some people out there who are willing to be vulnerable, and you know what? I like those people. I like the people that tell the whole story. Those are the people that I tend to follow, because I want to learn from people's challenges. I'm going to face challenges. Why not learn from what other people have done, right?
Well, and failure is learning. You have to fail before you can succeed. And failure is not a bad thing. It's simply learning what did not work right.
That's right.
So if something's not working, change direction. Do something slightly different. Try again. Just think, if we never, ever did anything for a second time, if we never tried again, not a single one of us would be walking or talking or anything, because we would have gave up way back then. We're like, yeah, this walking crap, it's too hard.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit here in my jolly jumper.
That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
like we have to keep going through life. It's all about learning how to do something different. Think of the great things, Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, Henry Ford, all the people who invented amazing, amazing things. We wouldn't have electricity.
The astronauts that landed on the moon.
Yeah, bacon.
Christopher Columbus discovering,
Yeah.
or whoever sailed to the Americas, right? Like,
Yeah, there's a few people.
yeah,
But we wouldn't have any of that if people didn't try and if people didn't fail along the way.
yeah.
What was it? Penicillin, created by accident.
Yep.
Yeah, like that is a major antibiotic that has saved people's lives, and it was created by accident.
That's right.
So it's all about failure. It's all about seeing how your failure affects what you're doing. And it is really scary, but it is a big part of being an entrepreneur.
Well, and if you don't take those risks, you're probably not going to get all the success that you want, right? And I actually worry a little bit that our society is becoming so risk averse, and people are becoming so afraid of taking those chances that, or, you know, always being politically correct to the 100th degree about everything, that a lot of, you know, potential, I don't know, life world changing things maybe take longer because people are afraid of stepping out of that comfort zone.
Well, and I think in Ontario anyways, when they brought in things like participation ribbons to elementary schools, it was no longer being rewarded for doing really good, for practicing and trying really hard and succeeding in something. It's, okay, well, you showed up, here's a ribbon, here's a t-shirt, you're all equal. And you need to have those things that set you apart, because some people will be really strong students, some will be really strong athletes, some will be really strong in the creative parts. So you need to reward each person for their own individual successes. And it might be a small success for some people, but it might be a huge success for others. Look at the introvert going to a huge conference. For an extrovert, that might be no problem at all, but for an introvert, just getting out of the car and walking into that hall is a huge, huge accomplishment. And we need to applaud people for getting out there and doing things like that. People who join us on the Blab, that is a huge thing. You're coming on,
you're showing up,
live conversation. Yeah,
you're showing up. I was just looking for an article that I knew I'd read earlier this year about, you know, 7 debilitating fears and challenges that entrepreneurs often never share. So I'm just going to paste the link into the chat here if I found it.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I don't know if are there people from our audience that want to join in and talk about maybe some of the fears or challenges that they've experienced in their entrepreneurial journeys.
We do have Akrami Mohammed who would like to join. Let me see. See if he joins in. We've got quite a few people joining us today.
Yeah, it's good to see. And while we wait here, what are you going to be dressing up as for Halloween tonight, or are you going to be dressing up?
I am debating. I actually have a headband with lighted lights, and I don't know where I put it. I'm not really too concerned. It looks like we're not going to get that connection coming through.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're welcome to join us, Sci-Fi Funk. Come on.
Yes, Steve, please do join.
Hi, guys.
I'm interested to hear. Hi, how are you?
Oh, very good, thank you. We haven't met before on Blab, so that's
No, we haven't. I love your studio. Nice and soundproof. Mine is not very soundproof. However, no kids have appeared this far.
That's good.
Well, you both sound very clear, so that's a good thing.
And you do as well.
That's good. It's good. Yeah, there are acoustic foam tiles there. You're in you're in my man cave here.
Cool.
Yeah. So, you took me back to a moment in my life about 2007, 2008. I first moved into marketing, and I'd come from IT, so I was the stranger, if you like. And I was trying to say to people, and I had a specific role, which was to do Google AdWords. And I said to people, you know, we've got to get past the fear of failure, because and I'll just leave. I would rather leave than be curtailed by that. Because I need to have the freedom to get it wrong.
Yep.
And they were and they were very understanding. I'm very pleased to say, which is unusual for a large company. And that was a kind of marriage made in heaven.
And what kind of strategies do you have for overcoming that fear of failure as someone who, you know, doesn't want to be trapped by that?
Well, I'll be 100% honest with you. The biggest fear, I think, that drives people or stops people, shall we say, when they are working is the fear of losing their job, losing their income. Oh, my word, what am I going to do now? And I can't say I'm a superstar at that. So what I did in my early 20s, I'm clinging on to my 40s now, by the way, just so you get a sense of perspective, is I just set about paying off the mortgage. I lived a very boring life. I don't know I'm guessing you're both in America, are you?
Canada, actually.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, no, we sound American.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I probably sound like I'm from, I don't know, somewhere in England to you.
Yeah, somewhere in the UK is what you sound, I would guess.
Some people think I'm Australian, but there you go. What was I saying? It was.
You're talking about paying off debt and mortgage, I think.
Yeah. So I didn't. It's not like I'm fearless or anything. So I thought, okay, that's my fear. So I'm going to sort it out by paying it off. So I just lived a boring life, and paid it off.
And you know what? Financial obligations, mortgage, debt, otherwise, are a huge, real reason that can hold people back. And you know, there's no stepping around that. If you have a lot of debt, maybe quitting your job to start something new isn't something that might work for you, but you can still maybe work on it on the side. Come up with a debt repayment plan. Like you said, you spent a lot of years paying off your mortgage and living a boring life. That's the trade-off you chose to make, right?
It is.
And same with kids and family.
Family.
Yes.
Sorry, Rebecca, I missed your point.
It's the same with kids and family. So sometimes you have those debts that you need to pay off. Plus, if you're supporting your family, especially young kids, it may not be an ideal time for you to be going 100% into an entrepreneurial venture. You may need to have some type of other security, either a working spouse or an alternate source of income, or perhaps a part-time job. So it is very scary, and more so than just having yourself who is scared about launching into an entrepreneurial venture. It's also, how are your kids going to be affected? How is your family going to be affected? So you have to take that into account, but you cannot let it stop you. It's just that you maybe modify it. You do little steps.
Come up with a plan of how to manage it, right?
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was so determined to do this that I didn't even have a phone.
Wow.
I had to go around the corner to the call box just to phone out. You know, anything to save money.
But I mean, I think that's a good point. You know, it's about making sacrifices when you're in situations like that. Most of us don't have all of the financial means we might like to have. And it means you're going to have to make some trade-offs, like, you know, having no phone, or, you know, not going out for dinner 3 times a week, or who knows what it is. You got to look at your own financial picture and figure out the sacrifices you can make, and then push forward.
For sure. And going back to Chuck's point too, Chuck was talking about earlier people going out and buying a brand new truck to be a contractor. So it's learning how to start projects using a minimal viable product. So starting with the basics, not spending a ton of money on overhead. That's one of the biggest failure points for some of the big startups. They spend millions and millions of dollars on stuff they don't necessarily need to build that minimal framework. So it's starting small, it's using your minimal resources and going forward that way, not spending a ton on stuff that you're not quite there for.
And keeping track, you know, if you're starting a business, I know a problem that a lot of small business owners make is they don't really know their numbers, and they don't know what they're spending on their businesses. And if you don't track that, you know, it can easily get out of control. So, you know, it's important to learn some basic bookkeeping and know the numbers behind your business, because maybe you need to be charging more. You know, maybe you need to be buying a lower end computer instead of a $2,000 MacBook or something like that, right? You need good tools, as Chuck said also, but you want to get the good value for your tools, you know, that you're not
and you don't need that brand new TV or that brand new car or that latest tech tool unless it's something that's vital to your business. And it's not surprising how many entrepreneurs I talk to who have no idea what different things are costing them. They just sort of push it all to a bookkeeper, or they don't even bother with their accounting. It's like, how are you running a business when you have no idea what's going on in your business? How do you know you have enough money to pay anyone, let alone anything else? And it's shockingly bad how many people live like that.
Definitely. And then the other thing is, I think a lot of people, they want to look like they're successful, right? So they go out and buy the fancy cars and the fancy clothes and the fancy gadgets, and then it's all financed and they got debt payments coming out of their ears, and they're really not making any money. But then you look at the like Warren Buffetts of the world who live a modest life, but they do incredibly well, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And most really wealthy people, a lot of really wealthy people, you wouldn't know it if they were walking down the street, I don't think, because they live very modest means, and that's a big reason of why they get to be successful, right?
Yeah, you just reminded me, again, in my 20s, I bought a Reader's Digest edition, which said, splashed across the front cover, how to live like a millionaire. And I thought, that sounds good. I was all excited. And when I opened the pages, it was saying, right, so don't spend on this. Don't spend on that. And like, if you save all this money, eventually the pot will grow, compound interest. I thought, oh, great. But it's right, of course.
No, but it's absolutely right. There's a reason most financial experts will give you that advice, because it does work.
Yeah.
Well, and look at how much money we waste on different things we don't need every single day. Like, do you really need this gadget? What is the benefit of buying that? So we really have to look at how we spend, not only as entrepreneurs, but as everyday people, and really evaluate, why are we making that purchase? And we've become such a disposable society that we just keep buying new stuff. We don't repurpose anything. We really need to go back to a time where we do repurpose more, we do reuse more, and we do value things that are provided from others or alternate sources.
And we value the dollars that we're spending, and, disposable and also credit obsessed, right? Like, it's so easy to get credit cards and lines of credit that you can just get. Yeah, you can get the stuff, but then you can't really afford it, right? Yeah. So managing that debt. I mean, I personally hate debt, and I currently have none.
Good for you, sir.
Awesome.
Yeah. And, it's served me well, that attitude.
So having established that principle, that then allows you to say, right, now if this particular venture goes wrong, so what?
And that's and that's exactly for me. And again, everybody's situation is different. But me, to take this leap, I got to that place of financial security, and I know that if it doesn't work out, it's okay. Life goes on.
Yeah, life goes on. And so you can get it wrong, can't you? And then that frees you then to be creative, which means you stand a bigger chance of finding the nugget that everybody else is too afraid to go after.
Yes. And I'm currently in the process of actually decluttering my own life, because after 22, 23 years as a parent, I have a lot of extra stuff. And in different conversations with people, stuff actually can drain your energy.
Oh, yeah.
And it drains your focus. So I'm now working on removing a lot of the extra stuff from my life to free me up for my next adventure, for my next mission. So sometimes we need to look at what's surrounding us and ask ourselves, why do we have so much of this stuff around? What's taking up space in our brain, in our lives, and in our energies that we don't need anymore? So
yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm going to show you guys here, just behind my desk. I got this big pile of stuff that I'm going through, because I think it does cloud your mental energy, and it's something that you can make money off of potentially with Kijiji, eBay, Craigslist, whatever it is. I mean, I found a box of old playing trading cards the other day. I sold it for $50. Took me like 20 minutes, and it was done.
That's good.
So now, that being said, not everything is going to sell, and you could spend a lot of time trying to sell stuff. So if it's not selling, then you can donate it. Find, like you said, Rebecca, find someone else who can use it, right, and get joy out of it. But don't let it clutter your mind.
Yeah, and it all goes back to when you're talking about selling off stuff you no longer need. Time is money, and we have to look at how much our time is worth in our businesses and our personal lives, because if we're using our time unwisely, if we're going to meet everybody we can for coffee, we're wasting travel time, we're wasting time we could be spending on work. If we're doing accounting when we should be hiring a bookkeeper or outsourcing it to someone else, we're wasting time doing something that we don't excel at. So it takes us twice as long to do that. So we really need to make sure that everything we're doing to the best of our ability, and we're sourcing out to other people where needed.
And and that's a great point. And I think it's another thing that people can get scared of is you can get scared that you're spending your time on the wrong things, right? And a strategy I find to overcome that is to write out what's important, and then I can come back to that and check in, right? If I start getting distracted, I can pull out that list and say, these are my 3 areas of focus right now. Is this aligned with that? Yes or no? If it's not, and admittedly, this is something I still struggle with, but it's helping me stay more focused and spending my time in the right area, because that's probably one of my bigger fears, is that I'm not putting my time in my right areas, because you can't create more time, right?
No, that's a very good point. And then what about the discipline side? How do you find that?
I mean, my thing with the discipline is nobody's perfect. And I think, again, in this social media, Twitter dominated world, people like to broadcast how great they're doing, but everybody slips up. And I think it's important to acknowledge that you slipped up, not beat yourself up too much, and then just reset, restart, and get back in. I try to come up with a plan every day for my 3 most important tasks, and I probably get them done 75% of the time. But having that plan helps me a lot, definitely.
Yeah, and setting attainable goals too. You don't want to set goals so big that you're never going to have any chance of accomplishing them. Yep. So set your attainable goals for each day and do it. There are different techniques for time management. We've talked about Pomodoro technique, and we've talked about tools where we can actually block out social media sites for certain lengths of time, and things like that. So it's the discipline to make sure we're using our time wisely and focusing that way. So we also talked about, if you're having lots of meetings with people, to group them into groups. So have 20 coffee dates, or have one set day a month where you're just setting up meetings with people. If you're just going to meet with people, instead of doing one on Monday, one on Thursday, one on Friday, 2 next week, and so on, because it just sort of combines everyone. You have one location, they come to you, and then you're not going all over the place wasting your time.
Yeah,
and you get most out of it.
That's a very good point. I've used that to great effect in my career. I call it batching it up.
Yeah.
Batching. Now, and the secret for me, I don't know what you're like, but if I'm not motivated on something, I'm going to do a lousy job. So I like to go where I'm motivated. Now, if I'm into setting up meetings or whatever in that particular day, then I'll just do them all, and I'll do it quicker. And that will free me up for more time for something else later.
Yep. Yeah, and I think I agree with batching. It's a great process, and I think it's a habit, right? Like you talk about discipline and building that discipline. It's a habit that it takes time to get better at. But as you repeat and you do it more and more, it'll become more second nature, and you'll be able to get a lot more done of important tasks.
For sure. So we're about halfway through. What else do we want to talk about? Scariest part of being an entrepreneur. You had mentioned, Kevin, figuring out what is important. And one of the things that I try and use as I'm tasking things is adapted from Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that's a time management matrix where you have your 4 quadrants. You have your urgent and important. You have your not urgent but important. You have your urgent and not important. And then you have your not urgent and not important. And when you divide your tasks into those 4 categories, it really helps you be able to figure out where they belong, because the urgent and important obviously need to be done. The not urgent, not important may be things you want to do, but they're not necessarily the things that you need to get done the most.
But the not urgent but important tasks are the ones you really want to try and find time for.
Yes, for sure. Let's see. Cash flow is always a Halloween moment for an entrepreneur. Cash flow is really, really scary. And maybe we should go back and talk about cash flow a little bit, how things can go from being positive to negative instantly and overnight. the cost of unexpected breakdowns or unexpected expenses, it can throw us completely into a tizzy. Okay, write those out, please, or repeat. That's Mist of Sky. I have a link here.
I just pulled one up.
Yeah, so there's the link to the ideas.
Damn it, you beat me.
That's okay. I already posted it earlier. It was copied.
Oh, there you go.
Yes. I'm cheating. I already had it in my mind. So it's urgent, important. Okay, look at the link.
Yeah,
that'll be easier. That way we
check out the link. We can carry on. So cash flow.
Yes, cash flow. The bane of existence of many entrepreneurs' existence.
Yep.
Cash flow is something that makes the world go round.
Yeah.
It makes our businesses work. And if you don't have cash flow, you're dead in the water at times.
Yeah.
So not only do we need to prepare as much as we can for times of low cash flow, we also have to be able to weather the storm through our own emotional roller coaster of going from highs and lows of money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're getting down to having not enough money to cover a month or two, you're in big trouble in your business.
Looks like Ross wants to join us.
Oh, okay. Well, come on in. I don't have any invite. Ross, yeah, come on in. Oh, there he is. Yeah, and anybody who wants to join us, just ask to join in and we'll let you in. Hi, Ross.
Hi, how are you?
Look, we're talking in person. Yay.
Finally.
Ross and I are Twitter friends, and we do quite a lot of Twitter chats together.
There you go.
Oh, yes. I could actually speak to some of the cash flow issues. I work for a nonprofit that has had a history of cash flow issues, and I work as the fundraiser. So right now, because of where I came in halfway through the year, we're actually kind of in that similar position, and it's a scary thing for me. But I know that we have a little bit in the bank that will cover us, but at the same time, it's a lot of pressure for me to raise funds, especially when we're rebuilding a lot of relationships with funders and trying to show that we're being more consistent. And they just dropped on me actually a couple of days ago that they want to launch another social enterprise. So that's kind of another scary thing. But yeah, I can totally agree with what you're saying about the cash flow.
So is there anything in particular you do to try and, I guess, manage those fears, live with those fears?
Well, I think the best thing for me is to learn how to work effectively. I used to be a big tweeter every day, but now I've kind of pulled away because I have to really focus on work. I mean, we're going in for next week. We kick off our year-end giving with Giving Tuesday, and that's going to be a very, very big thing that the organization has never done before. But yeah, I try to prioritize and make sure we're working effectively, not getting burned out by certain tasks. And, it works out pretty well. There have been actually a couple of good surprises that have come through. We've had a lot of new funders that are proposing very large sums of money that we've never
awesome.
Congrats.
But yeah, the work has to be done between that. So
yeah, and I think, when you're talking about cash flow and priorities, it's all about identifying those areas that are going to bring you the cash and focusing on them. The 80-20 rule type of thing, right? What 20% of your, activities or clients or whatever are going to bring in that 80% of cash flow, and focus relentlessly on those. The 80% of the customers might make the most noise, but those 20%, they're the ones that are going to help you bring it home to the bank.
And in not-for-profits, you have even more challenges, because with not-for-profits, you're so dependent on grants and donations and on your fundraisers. So you also want to make sure that you're doing a really awesome job fundraising and making sure that you're doing things to show that you're valuing them and their money.
And that's been a challenge. I think a lot of nonprofits get into that. They take the money, but they don't give out a thank you. And
yes,
that's been something that
always thank your volunteers. You have to thank the volunteers.
I've been very not necessarily critical, but very pushy about we need to send out thank you letters within a day of receiving a donation, because that's
for sure
thing to do, and that's been received well. But yeah, it's for me, the whole thing is it's some new stuff, it's some old stuff, and it's a lot of interested in new things that I'm learning on a daily basis too.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, awkward silence here.
Because one of us, ticking.
Yeah, is there a bomb in one of your rooms? I just hear some ticking going on.
No, there shouldn't be.
Oh, I think it might be my headphone. My mouse, every time I put it closer, seems to be like a bomb or something. I have no idea what's going on with it.
Oh, you got some feedback or something.
Yeah, and I can't get rid of it. So I'm going to have to go buy a new mouse because this is crazy. But what can you do? It's part of being an entrepreneur, part of the challenges. You see what works and what doesn't. And we have found that the door is working much better this week.
Good. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's much less background noise this week.
I know, it's weird. There's no kids screaming their heads off.
Well, that's funny.
But it's all part of managing your family, right?
That's funny, speaking about the mice. I do the IT for the organization too. And I spent 2 weeks just fixing computers and taking them apart, and it was so yeah, I totally understand, like boxes of parts, and it's like, okay, what can I do and what can I put in and make this thing work and last maybe a couple more months? So that's the fun of it too.
I just thought of another fear maybe that we could talk about is the fear of what other people will think, about what it is that you're doing, what you're up to. It's definitely one of the ones I struggle with as I work to become a coach. I don't know if that's something else that you guys want to comment on.
I think we all share that same fear. We all are afraid of what other people will think of us. We're afraid of whether our idea is good enough, if we're doing the right thing, and we really have to just shake off those thoughts and just be authentic to ourselves, believe in ourselves, believe in what we're doing, and go forward. As long as it's not mortally wrong or morally wrong, then you're good. Go ahead and try it. Listen to other people's advice, but keep moving forward and be yourself and go with it. Don't let other people bring you down.
Exactly. And be yourself, I think, is the most important point there. It's great to get advice from other people. I totally agree. But nobody else is you, right? We are all unique. We all bring our own strengths to things. So it's definitely something that I fall victim to at times is people offer me advice and I take it like it's the gospel, but it's not. That's their experience and what's worked for them doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for me.
Well, we have to remember that a lot of people know nothing. Simply put, like nobody is perfect.
Nope.
We all are learning, and just because somebody says something to you doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean they're doing it right.
Nope.
They may have no idea, and they may be flying by the seat of their pants, just as so many people are.
That's right.
We're all learning. We all know nothing.
That's right.
But we can just keep learning.
And just because someone has a couple thousand Twitter followers or something like that doesn't mean that they're the one the guru that you need to listen to, right?
Exactly.
You gotta learn and adapt from your own experiences. But yeah, that fear of always pleasing people. I mean, I'm a people pleaser, and it's definitely something I struggle with to push through and allow my authentic and unique voice to come through the world.
No, I'm with you on that.
And Tim's just commented that according to Rebecca, most people are stupid. So I didn't mean that for sure, Tim. I know, but most of us, we don't know everything. We are struggling and we're trying to learn as we go along. So we're all learning.
Yep. And I think Charlene makes a very great point about no need to go it alone. Mastermind groups, any kind of group, even this, like having a blab like this to come on and share ideas and help each other out can go a long way to pushing through those fears. I know for me, since I've joined a few mastermind type groups in the last few months, I've made way more progress than I did in the previous year. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic point, Charlene.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And I know that you were mentioning, what if people didn't like your idea or not feeling confident? Maybe you need to find a different group of people. And it's so important to surround ourselves with the 5 people who will really lift us up and really empower us to move forward. So we need to find people who are thinking in similar manners, because if they're not thinking at the level we're wanting to go to, it's really not going to help us along the way. It's just going to bring us down and hold us back further.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then going into the customer or donor sphere, you're not going to please the entire population. Your product's not going to be for everybody. Your service isn't going to be for everybody. But, there's 350, 400 million people in North America, 500 million people in Europe, whatever it is. The market is huge. And with the tools that we have today, the ability to connect with that market is incredible. And whatever your niche is, as long as you can connect with that niche and serve that niche, that's what's going to get you there. You don't have to worry about serving everybody.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that I face in my job and with the ideas that I've discussed with Rebecca too, is that it took me a while to find where I fit in. When I was looking for a job after college, I started out, I wanted to become a replanner when I was in school. And then halfway through, I'm like, I think I'm better at nonprofits. I wanted to do program management. And then I somehow got an internship as a fundraiser. And now I have a job doing that. So that's kind of where I fit in. And I think another struggle that some entrepreneurs have is that they try to do everything. They try to be a master of everything.
Yeah.
And I've fallen into that too. Like, oh man, it'd be really sweet if I knew how to like code all these different platforms. But I'm like, maybe that's not the best approach. I think it's better for me to, come up with the idea, at least know how systems work, and then reach out to people that know it better than me, because I'm not going to be the expert at it, and it may not be the best for them or best thing for me. So.
For sure. And even when we are experts at things, I know lawyers who do things for a living and know all the information, but they will still consult with other lawyers and say, hey, is this right? Is what I'm thinking, is that the right thing that I'm thinking? Is that the way I should be approaching this problem? And yes, they validate their ideas with each other. So that sort of goes back to my thought that nobody knows anything, because we're not always sure of what we are doing, and we need people to validate it and say, yeah, we are doing it right.
You're right. And I think,
yes, even doctors practice. Nobody is an expert. Exactly. And that's more the point I was trying to make.
But the interesting thing I think that happens though with entrepreneurs is there's also that fear of giving up control, right? So although you'll acknowledge that you're not an expert at everything, giving up the control and maybe outsourcing a little bit is something that a lot of people, myself included, struggle with, right? Because, it's hard, but you have to trust these people that you maybe are outsourcing to are experts for a reason. They know what they're doing, right? And they're going to save you probably a lot of time.
Yeah,
like handing over your baby. Yeah, it's a little bit scary to hand over something you've worked so hard on and then put everything you've built, everything you've did, put that into somebody else's hands to take care of, somebody else to look after a part. It's when you're doing something big, doing a project, it's really, really hard to delegate certain things because you're afraid it's not going to be done right. You're afraid they're going to drop your baby, that they're going to do something wrong and feed it candy, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a genuine concern, and we have to be able to learn how to let go, but let go by also researching who we're letting it go to. Don't just give it to someone because they're like, yeah, I know how to do building website or building this or do accounting. Make sure that they actually have the background and the experience. So
and start small, right? Give them a little piece initially, and you still retain the ultimate final say, right? And then let them earn your trust and slowly give them more and more, and then you kind of ease into it, right?
Yeah. And I do think it's a good idea to try and know a little bit about what you're doing or what you're handing out. Not so much that you're an expert or you want to get in the way, but more just to know a little bit so you understand the process, because it makes it a little bit easier if you understand some of the process or understand what they need from you in order to do their job.
Morning, Tim.
Morning, Tim.
Hey.
Hi, Kevin. Hi, Ross. What a pleasure. Look, I put the handing over your baby thing because I think that's what it feels like whenever you give your business over to somebody else to and that's like employing employees even. That the moment you bring someone else into the thing that you created, the thing you're nurturing and building and wanting to grow, that feels like you're handing over your child. Yep. But at the same time, as a manager, you can define the parameters, and there lies the difference. That if I can define what I want to achieve, then I'm not handing over my baby. I'm handing over a goal.
That's right.
So the moment I allow my employees to see what we want to achieve in this business, the moment I hand over what I want to achieve in my advertising, what I want to achieve in my production, and what quotas I want to make, that isn't handing over your baby. That's setting a goal or a target or something that we can all aim for, and that's a different feeling.
Yep, and I think that's a great point. Clarify those expectations, make it very easy to understand, and you're going to give yourself a lot more comfort. Give yourself a lot more comfort in handing that off, I think.
For sure.
Well, there's that weird ticking. I'm waiting for something to go boom.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing ticking. I'm just hearing a fuzz, and I don't know if it's my headphones or what.
Yeah, I've got that ticking. I can hear it too.
I can hear it.
I've got that ticking.
See, I don't hear the ticking. I just hear my own headphones.
Tim, don't worry. There's not a bomb buried under your desk.
That's okay.
I don't know. I'm on a couch, so.
Well, that's good. It could be something buried in my office. It's chaos in here. But well, I guess we're near the end of the show for today. Does anybody have any other questions or anything that they want to throw in the feed?
Or big fears that we didn't hit on?
Yes. What is your next biggest fear?
The other fear that I think entrepreneurs feel is that success is their success. That often that if you're running a business that makes a profit, that feeds your family, that you might have started a startup that wasn't Google. It was the other search engine. You created Bing, perhaps. But at the same time, you still created something, and it's okay not to be the leader. It's okay to be number two. We're number two. It's okay not to be that guy. But if you're feeding your family and supplying, and employing people or creating something that is a culture of greatness, it's okay not to be number one. And so
define your own success, right?
Exactly.
Success for you.
It doesn't matter how successful you are to everybody else. It's how you view your own success. And if it's running a mom and pop traditional business and you're able to support your family from it, then that is perfect. If you're able to support your family for a couple of years and then you need to close it, that is absolutely amazing too, because you took the effort to make it happen. You were able to make it work, and you were able to do it for the length of time you did. And it's okay. It's okay to fail. It's okay to change directions. It's okay to say it's time to stop. Pardon?
I'm not sure you can call it failure. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to say, I ran a business for 5 years and I pivoted into a job. That's okay.
That is true.
And that's
failure is more of a pivot. It's trying something new.
Yeah, I just think that we, as entrepreneurs, we think, I did this, it didn't work, I'm a failure. And that's not what it is. I did this, it didn't work, and I tried something else.
Yeah, it's not black and white, right? It's a journey.
Ross, wake up.
I'm awake.
We're putting poor Ross to sleep here.
No, I was distracted here. No, but I agree with not being the biggest. Our organization actually supplies a lot of people who are under $1 million a year, which is it's a pretty good size. But when I tell people, they're like, wow, we thought we were bigger because we have brand recognition, because we sell a magazine on the streets of Chicago to our vendors, and that's pretty much our brand recognition. So I've had a lot of discussions because we're going into a strategic planning phase with my boss and a couple other key people. And I posed the question, do we really need to be the biggest? Because we have 3 other organizations that are a lot larger, that have that are a lot more vulnerable to government funding issues, because right now the state doesn't have a budget, and a lot of nonprofits are not doing well because of that, because they're not getting their payments. And we're in a pretty good place because we get a lot of private funding. So it's been a question that's been posed, and when I posed it, the reception has been like, well, maybe we don't need to be, but we still need to be unique in what we do and find something else to expand upon. So that's the good thing. But it's just something that I totally agree with, and not being the biggest. You're going to find where your special spot is.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I think that's some very great discussion this morning.
It certainly was. And we need to just keep going and talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Being an entrepreneur is really, really scary. And having conversations like this where we can talk about our fears, talk about things that other people are going through, is a great way to move forward and help each other. So I'd like to see us do more talks about what issues people are having in their own businesses, in their own lives, because it's all part of living a remarkable life. You need to get through those bad parts as well.
Yep. And yeah, you're absolutely right. And authentically sharing like this, and getting experience from others, and knowing that you're not alone goes so far to help,
for sure,
to helping live a remarkable life.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up to the top of the hour, so I think it's time to say bye to all of our wonderful viewers and guests. Thank you, Tim and Ross.
Yeah.
And for everyone who joined us earlier, we really appreciate it. And we'll be back. And Chuck, of course, Chuck's back from his walk, it looks like. So thank you as well. And Sci-Fi Funk too. I can't remember your name. So good luck to everybody in the next week. And we hope to see you back here next Saturday at 11 a.m. EST or 9 a.m. PDT. And any other closing words, everyone?
I got to find out how Tim does that thing with his his screen down there.
Awesome. I think that's how it goes. But
I know, right?
You are freaking awesome.
I have technical wizardry that I will happily share with you, but perhaps not at the end of this. But hit the non-recording button, and I will give you all the information.
Perfect.
Definitely. Okay, well, I think that's it for tonight. Or this morning.
Yep.
Have happy Halloween, everybody.
Yes.
Have fun. Don't eat too much candy.
Yeah. We'll talk to you next Saturday.
Okay.